It's time to talk fantasy football. It's time to let 'em know. Where you let us crunch the numbers while you crush the competition. So grab your playbooks and crack a cold one, because here's your hosts, Teak and Baney.
Welcome back, guys. Episode 11 of the Let 'Em Know podcast. I'm your host, Teague. Here to my left again, we got Mikey D, the Money Badger. And to my right, we got Baney. Just to fill you guys in on what's going on, we got another little mailbag segment for you guys, some questions from the community. Then we're going to get into our deep dives, trying to find you guys them treasures in the late rounds. But why don't our personal mailman here get us going on the mailbag segment?
Honored. Alrighty. So, looks like we got two questions that are kind of in the same category here, so we'll get them out of the way first. Superflex Dynasty League. This is a startup league. Very important part to these. First question is, with the 11th pick, would you be crazy to go 11th pick and following pick both quarterbacks? I'm assuming this is like superstar combo quarterbacks thinking it's going to take over the league. Um, Personally, I think I would want to spread that talent out. I think that there's a lot of elite talent at the wide receiver core that I would probably want to spread my wings on in a super flex league. Though, I mean, having two elite quarterbacks, I don't know, man. If that's what your gamble is, I mean, I guess go for it, but I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about going back to back quarterbacks in your top two, you know, most valuable picks. Teak, what's your thoughts?
I kind of agree with you on that statement. Usually in dynasty leagues, mainly the wide receivers kind of fly off first. Um, Picking at the 11-12 spot, I would be grabbing either two wideouts or a wideout running back, depending on who's there. Um, those QBs still go in the later rounds. Your third, fourth round. I'm noticing in these dynasty leagues. So to taking two quarterbacks back to back, if you're high on one quarterback, take him with your second rounder if you're feeling that froggy about him. But I would definitely not waste both of your picks on those two most important picks in your draft.
Okay. Mike, you said you're allergic to dynasty leagues, so you don't even.
Yes, so I've never done a dynasty league. The pros answered, but just from what they said, I think, I mean, grab a young stud if you want, because quarterbacks do last the longest in this league. But I agree, going back to back, I feel like that could be a waste of a pick. I mean, you want a wide receiver, quarterback. Those two last. But going back to back quarterback, I feel like that's a waste of a pick. But again, I don't really do dynasty leagues, so um, just flip flopping off of what they said.
Certainly a bold strategy. Hey, if it pays off, great. Let us know. Next question seems to be dynasty trend. 16 team dynasty. First overall pick. Any advice? I think establishing whether or not this is a super serious dynasty league is the most important part of this pick. I feel like everybody thinks dynasty leagues are the greatest. They're super cool. You're sitting around with your buddies, come up with this big plan to have this deep league and all these plans, and then like 2 years into it, nobody it responds to the group chat. Everybody hates everybody, and it falls apart. So that being said, I love Justin Jefferson. I love Justin Jefferson. I love Jamar Chase. I love the wide receiver talent across the board. That being said, I don't think you'd be crazy to take Bijan, but like I said, if you establish if this is a serious league or not, then running backs seem to not last very long in this league. And if this is a very serious dynasty, then you might only have a couple years of said Bijan. Whereas, Jefferson and Jamar are going to be around for a long time, a decade. So if it's that type of league, then I would risk it on those type of talents. Teague, how you feeling?
Just going off basically what you're saying, To me, there's 3 clear contenders at the number 1 overall pick to start up. That is Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase are the most common picks. If you're not taking one of them, the only viable alternative to me, is Bijan. The best rosters in any given season are still built around the running backs, but Bijan, you don't know what he's gonna do. You don't know what he's gonna be talent-wise. Jefferson Chase, they are confirmed elite already, so you have another 8 to 10 years on those guys. So I would kind of more lean towards the wideouts as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, unless you're a gambling man, we saw the stats on last week's episode. If you didn't watch that, go check it out now. It's on the YouTube channel. But if you're a gambling man, take Bijan, baby. You never know. So, but yeah, JJ and Chase seems like the way to go.
Alrighty, last question, getting out of the dynasty stuff. What player are we most excited coming into their second season? Me personally, it's Olave. Um, and reason being is I love their strength of schedule. I mean, they have, I think, the first easiest schedule this year. I think I'm not a Derek Carr truther, but I'm definitely not a Derek Carr hater. I think he's an upgrade at that position for them. Um, I just think his potential's through the roof. If you get a couple weeks out of Michael Thomas, I think that only helps Olave. I think that opens up, some more space for him on the field. Doesn't make him necessarily have to be the number one. Um, yeah, he's definitely head and shoulders my most excited player to watch in their second season. I do have my eye on a couple of people. The reason I take him over Garrett Wilson is the Jets have a tough schedule. They do have a tough little run this year, and I'm not the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan. The calf injury is already popping up. I did a little video the other day documenting the breakdown of Aaron Rodgers' career injuries. Um, it's scary for a dude staring 40 in the face. So to hitch my wagon to somebody throwing him the ball, I'd rather see Olave, and I'm excited for it. So Teague.
It's kind of building a trend here with me and you for these mailbag questions, which is kind of scary. But again, I have Wilson and Olave. I kind of hooked them together as my favorite two. For those reasons, they both can have monster years. They both are in a new system with better QBs. Like you said, Aaron Rodgers is getting up there. Still can't take anything away from Aaron Rodgers. Derek Carr is now in the Saints. If I had to pick one, if you held me down and forced me, it's going to be Garrett Wilson. Just because I'm kind of a little biased with the Saints. I'd rather see Garrett Wilson do a little bit better than these New Orleans Saints, but if push comes to shove, both these guys are probably going to be exciting to watch this year.
Yeah, I think definitely Carr and Olave. I'm very excited to watch, and Garrett Wilson. But not being biased, but maybe a little. I'm most excited to watch George Pickens, baby. I mean, I think we all can agree. I know I'm a huge Steelers fan. We all talk about it. You guys bust my chops a little bit here and there. But I think we can all agree seeing those highlight reel catches on Joey Porter Jr. has been a sight to see this training camp. I'm just really excited about seeing him and Kenny Pickett go. I want to see the Pickett to Pickens combo. Again, that's a little biased in me, but that's what I'm most excited for because I haven't seen a playoff win since 2017. So it's been a while.
2016 over here, bud.
2016.
Hey,
So.
real quick, throw a wrench in the system. I have a mailbag question for you two. Okay? Can you name the 10 picks that went directly after Trey Lance that the 49ers took Trey Lance over?
How about 10 guys better than Trey Lance? What was it? It was Kyle Pitts.
Yep.
Micah Parsons.
Waddle. Jalen Waddle.
There's 3. We got 3.
Jamar
They're not in
Chase.
order, but you got 3.
Jamar Chase. Jalen Waddle.
It was stacked, the 10.
Shit, I would even take that Quiddy Pay over him. Was I right?
So we have the next 10 picks after Trey Lance, okay? Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Penei Sewell, J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain, Devontae Smith, Justin Fields, Micah Parsons, and Rashawn Slater. And they got Trey Lance.
They
That just
traded they
shows.
traded up for Trey Lance.
They gave a lot of equity away to get Trey
Yeah,
Lance.
it wasn't a good look. It's not a good
No.
look.
That just shows
100%.
you how important that franchise quarterback position is. I mean, people will give up the house for that. So
That's true.
hopefully Brock Purdy works out for them.
Yeah, makes up for that. But we're going to move on here, guys, to our deep dive segment. So let's get that underway. All right, guys. Badge.
Sorry guys. I was just diving in the ocean for some sleepers.
So
Let me take this off. Let me take the gear off.
so this is our deep dive segment here. We're gonna have Baney start us off here while Badge is getting dry. So
Man.
who do you got first?
Yeah, guys, just
this-
be thankful you didn't have to see him in the wetsuit. It was a sight.
So
You
these
liked it.
just as a focal point, guys, these are the ADP guys past 100 that we think maybe find a treasure in those late rounds for you guys. So we're gonna have Baney start off here for us, and then we'll work our way around here.
Alrighty, so I think last week I started the trend of comparing quarterbacks to bands that are, a little overhated but do numbers. I think we're going to continue that trend. Um, Jared Goff is Lincoln Park, okay? Dude just does numbers. Shows up, does numbers. Not for everybody, not everybody's taste, does numbers. All right, 4,400 yards passing last year, number 6th overall. 29 touchdowns, number 5 overall. Do you know what those ranked over? Well, that's more yards than Josh Allen. That's more yards than Geno Smith, Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, Aaron Rodgers, and Tua. That's more touchdowns than Rodgers, Brady, Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, and Jalen Hurts. Then you mix that in, he only had 7 interceptions last year. Of a starting quarterback for the entire year, the only fewer were 5 and 6. And then, he finished QB 10 last year. At ADP 131 this year and a QB 17. If you can steal him that late in your draft and get a QB 10, that's crazy upside. And then, you got to mix in. They got Gibbs, they got Laporta. They get Williams back from suspension. That offense is only going to get better. It's only more weapons. They were top. What were they? They're top, I think, 5 or so scoring team last year with I think almost 27 points per game last year. And on top of that, 7th easiest schedule versus a quarterback this year. I think if you steal him that late in the draft, it gives you a lot of potential to roster build. And QB 10 upside from last year, that's a steal to me. What are you guys thinking?
For me, for Goff, he's gonna have to prove to me at least one more year. He can take care of that football and produce those same kind of numbers. Back with the Rams, 2020, 13 picks. 2019, 16 picks. 2018, 12 picks. Got to take care of the Rock. If he can produce those same numbers coming out in Detroit again, then I'm going to take a flyer on him again. Obviously, the ADP is not going to be there probably for next year if he does it again. But for me, it's a one-hit wonder kind of thing for me. Just going off, he does put up numbers with the yardages over 4,000 yards most of his career, and the touchdowns are there. It's just the turnovers for me and that TD to interception ratio worries me. So I would like to see that a little bit better for this year.
Yeah. So the Lions, they're one of my most interested teams. I'm gonna watch this year. I'm excited to watch. So I felt bad for Goff when when the Rams just kind of dumped him. I think now though, I think he's set up perfectly here. I mean, coming in a 14, 12-man league, maybe not a 10-man league, but 12, 14-man league. I am in a 14-man league. I would take a chance on Goff just because of the talent around him. I mean, I think the guy can do some damage still. And I think getting Gibbs and getting rid of Swift, I think Gibbs is going to be the real deal. He's going to get him some extra yardage, some extra touchdowns. I mean, Gibbs is going to be the guy that Swift should have been, I feel. So I think that's a great draft pick by the Lions and just going to make Goff better. I would definitely take a chance on him. So
Now, quick question for you boys. Goff is currently going, was it QB 17 right now?
Yep.
Would you rather take a flyer on him or a possible Anthony Richardson with the running capability?
Goff.
I'm a gambling man, so that's a tough one. 14 man, 14 man, maybe I'll take a little shot on Richardson.
I
right.
listened to a podcast where they broke down basically like what the average rookie quarterback gives you for a fantasy season, and that's exactly what the Colts offense as a whole put out like from their quarterback room from last year. So, I mean, basically if you want to take that as a metric to look at, I mean, I would rather have Goff. I understand the legs upside. I understand that, it's basically the Eagles offensive coordinator down there and they're hoping this is Jalen Hurts 2.0, but I mean, I'm like the one guy I feel like that's just banging my head against the wall that is just like I haven't seen this guy do it and do it consistently. Like the legs are there for sure, undoubtedly. The numbers like at the combine, he's a freak, 100%.
So,
But
so just to cut you off real quick. So, you got to see him do it consistently. Your take on Fields, he's done it 1 year. He was a one hit wonder so far. You're going to take that
1,100
flyer?
yards rushing speaks for itself, though. I mean, Richardson hasn't done that.
Well, that actually made me think a little bit because even Hurts, it took Hurts a year or two to get going. I mean, these rookie quarterbacks, unless you're Andrew Luck or Joe Burrow, I mean, so I don't know now. Maybe you take the consistency with Goff.
And you mentioned strength of schedule. He has just about the same strength of schedule this season too. He has an easy schedule as well. So
With
it
less weapons,
with less weapons, but I mean, Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor ain't nothing out there either. Once that comes together for Jonathan Taylor.
Michael Pittman and Kenny Galladay had the exact same stat splits last year.
Okay, listen.
Confirmed.
It was
Confirmed.
a mess. We had Jeff Saturday coaching that team. We had everything going on in Indy. Don't make me get Debro back here and explain to you the Colts organization that's going on out there. All right? We went over that already. It was a mess. Hopefully it's tidied up for fantasy,
Yeah.
But Badge, who's your first guy?
So, my first guy, ADP of 127. This guy coming into the 2022 draft, I thought that he was going to be more pro ready than he actually was. So, that being said, I'm going to take a mulligan on this guy, and that guy is Sky Moore. 2 words, Patrick Mahomes. So, I'm going to take a mulligan on Sky. His numbers, I thought they were going to. I was big on him last year. I'm going to double down on him this year. Juju is gone. He's taken over 101 targets, 282 snaps in the slot. He's going to take those over. So, Tony's injury concerns, I think Sky could be the guy, And that offense, I mean, Patty Mahomes, he needs someone else besides Kelsey. Someone consistent. I think Sky could be that guy. So, that's what I'm going with right there.
There has to be somebody. I mean, honestly, there has to be somebody. And it's crazy, but it's just like, do you take a gamble on anybody or do you just hope to get Kelsey and then just hopefully not have to worry about the rest? I don't know. I really like Rashee Rice. There's some other talk about, Prince out of there, but I don't know, man. I've heard that Sky Moore's going to be the guy that never comes off the field. So, I mean, if that's a risk you're worth taking, he's definitely going to be the guy that sounds like he's going to be having the most opportunities. Whether or not he makes the most of it, like you said, it's whether or not he's making that jump this year. And at this point in the draft, at that late, then I mean, those are risks you're taking. And yeah, I've heard a ton of arguments that Sky Moore is going to boom this year. Um, but like we've just got done talking about, it's an eye test. I mean, like we got to see it. You have to see it. If he booms, you'll never be able to get him this late again. So yeah, it's a deep dive for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the biggest thing before I let Teak go is Mahomes. That is why I am picking this guy. Mahomes can make a lot of decent receivers good. He can make a lot of good receivers great. I mean that's why. If he was on the Brown, no, never mind. You know what I'm saying. So.
So question here. Besides Tyreek Hill, name another receiver he made great. I don't see it.
I
There's
mean, he
no,
didn't
Juju
have a
did
lot
have
of
his
he didn't
second
have a lot
best
of
year
time.
last year, but
They come in, they go. They come in, they go. Juju's gone.
and Sky's gonna fly too, I believe. So with this guy as well, we thought here's Tony, same thing, right? Can't stay on the field. He's injury prone. He's again hurt this season. Sky Moore last season only got 33 targets, 250 yards, 0 touchdowns. If that's your guy who's going to play every down and you're confident in that, I don't know. I'd rather take a flyer somewhere else. I mean, I got a guy right next to him on my list coming up here that's right above him one slot. He's proven he can do it. So I'd rather take a more proven guy than take a chance on someone who I might not even get those looks, I believe.
Yeah, I mean the Chiefs need somebody besides Kelsey. So
The thing
that's
is,
my.
they don't. He's won a Super Bowl with these guys without Tyreek. So it's like, does he really? No. It's
And now
it's
here's
seeing, but now they got a full year. These teams have a full year of seeing without Tyreek. So now they know. Oh, they got to just get Kelsey. I mean, Juju was.
I mean, Kelsey's
I mean,
been that guy for how long? I think teams would know, hey, let's guard Kels, right? I
he
mean,
is him. He is him.
so it's baffling, but it works, man. He can play with anybody. It's kind
Hey,
of
I'm swimming. I'm swimming.
I see it. You're
yeah.
diving hard, man. Your hair is still wet. I can tell.
It
Dude,
is.
so two things, last two things on this is one, it's crazy to think that they're probably going to be the number one passing offense again this year, and they're not going to produce a single viable receiving option for fantasy outside of Kelsey.
It,
That's
it's
crazy.
spread ball.
It's wild. And two, wide receivers shouldn't wear 20s. It looks awful.
That's
It's so
Oh,
confusing.
dude, this is terribly confusing. He needs to change that if he's going to produce. I do. He needs to change his number.
we're we're,
It's might be the
we're going to the numbers
Or you're
now.
off my list.
Yeah. Let them know. You heard it. You heard it here first.
Oh my
Wide receivers
gosh.
in the 20s, god awful.
That is disturbing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I still believe though. Just kidding.
Yeah. All right. So my next pick,
Can the guy go?
Hey, you skipped the man.
Come on, man.
what?
Can I get a pick in here?
No.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna talk about the
host.
receiver that you should pick above Sky. I'm going the guy you don't like. We talked about earlier in the mailbag episode. I'm going Michael Thomas. His ADP is 104. In our Debro episode, he said himself, you got to risk it for the biscuit. All right. This guy has the talent. We know he has the talent. Yes, he's coming off injuries. So who cares? Everybody gets injured in the NFL. This guy led the NFL in catches in 18 and in 2019, where he had over 1,400 yards and 9 TDs in each of those seasons. So Camp is saying he's finally 100%. I'm rolling with it this season. I really am. He's called Slant Boy for a reason. You're going to flourish in PPR leagues then. it's a king's ransom at this pick, I believe. So if he's back to 100% and making those slant routes, more power to you. You're going to pick him up late. You have a potential nice wide receiver too. I can believe he can be. He might not be that number one with Olave there, but he'll be a nice viable number two option if he is 100%.
Dude, they have a great wide receiving core. If he's healthy, just paint the picture that everybody's healthy, perfect season. Olave, Thomas, and then you sprinkle in Rashid Shaheed. That's, I mean, what more could you ask for? Honestly, it's crazy talent across the board. And I mean, Derek Carr, you saw what he did with Devontae Adams last year. He produces wide receivers, and I mean, even before that, he got Nelson Aguilar paid. Like, guy can produce wide receivers, and Michael Thomas has the talent. It's just a matter if his hamstring stays attached.
Yeah, I mean, league reception leader for a reason all time. So, I mean, if that guy's healthy, I think that's great for Olave. But yeah, if he does come back and he's still in that football shape, I think that's a heck of a pick at that ADP.
Can't complain about Slant Boy on my end. I mean, I hate to see it, but you know, he is a talented dude.
Hey guys, it's Baney from the Let 'em Know podcast. Sorry for the break in the action. Just wanted to give you guys a quick shout out. Thanks for hanging out and talking ball with the boys. Please take a quick second to like, subscribe, and follow us on all social media platforms. Our goal is to hit 1,000. That's right, 1,000 subscribers. Now we're going to get back to crunching the numbers while you crush the competition. For
But
sure.
go ahead, Benny. You can finally give us your second pick since
About
you're
time.
you're itching over there.
Yeah, and you should be too. You should be excited for this one. This late in the rounds, the deep dives and stuff like that, I usually always advise and hammer, just try to find a starter. Even if you don't necessarily like the offense or whatever, just try to find a starter. Somebody who's going to be on the field, going to get the snaps. This is the one guy I'm going to bend that rule for. ADP 155, RB 48. It's Tyler Algier. And the reason I'm going to bend the rule for this guy is at that late, it's worth it. Handcuff aside, we're not even going to talk about if you have Bijan because we've already done that in the handcuff episode. Go watch it again if you haven't seen it. Um, but I mean, he's an asset worth just holding on to, whether that is in a situation where Bijan goes down. If you don't have Bijan, somebody else desperately is going to want Algier to fill that role on their roster. So you have the upper hand in a trade situation already. Workload management, maybe Bijan doesn't get these 400 touches. Maybe he does, but maybe he doesn't. Algier's a 1,000-yard rusher. He's proven that he should be on the field. Um, Goal line stuff could be an option, I've already touched on trade asset, but his PFF grade last year, well, he was number one as a rookie running back. So that's number one over Kenneth Walker and fantasy sweetheart Brees Hall. So, like I said, this guy has proven he's good. And he's on an offense that wants to run the ball. They want to run the crap out of the ball. And if that's not reason enough, to want him on your team, the asset reason, sitting on him, if you can afford that spot. These are the running backs grouped around him, and I don't think I like any of them more than him. Rashad Penny, his injuries in that messy backfield committee, I don't have any interest in that. Devon Achin, small rookie, again, another unsure running back room. We go to Elijah Mitchell. I like Elijah Mitchell, but I mean, he does have injury concern. Well, if you don't like Algier because Bijan's there, well, you're not going to like Mitchell because CMC's there. Kendre Miller, recovering from an injury, he's a rookie as well, and he's in another running back room that's completely loaded. And then Ezekiel Elliott, which maybe you could make a case for. I'm not going to make a case for him. So
I'm
yeah, Tyler Algier at deep dive, I think it's an asset worth, taking that deep dive, putting the extra scuba gear on, just go down in there, get him.
Yeah, I mean, so, I'll take this one because I'm going to pass it back to you, the Falcons fan who knows best. I mean, Algier, how can you not take him after? How can they not use him, the Falcons, after a year he had last year? Even though you got Bijan, who's going to be the guy, I still think you got to give the guy his touches. I mean, didn't him and Patterson kind of go 1-2 punch 50-50? I'll give it back to the Falcons fan. I'll let him his take.
Well, you also remember Algier only started 7 of those games as well, being a 1,000-yard rusher.
You got to give him the touches then.
He's definitely going to get his touches. I think he's going to be more of the third down goal line back. That's going to be his role, I believe. He's definitely going to get the touches in the run first offense. The only case I would make for if you wanted to go a different route, drafting somebody else, I'm a big on Tank Bigsby this year. I'm super big on Tank Bigsby. Before we talked about in previous episodes how what ETN did there his rookie season. Tank Bigsby might do that to ETN this season. He's going to take touches away. ETN has trouble at the goal line in that red zone area, and I think that's where Tank Bigsby is going to excel at. So he's going to hawk a lot of those TDs, which Algier might be the one in that same role as well. So if you're not big on the Algier train, I would go Tank Bigsby if you're looking elsewhere.
I do remember ETN fumbled on the goal line for me in the playoffs on the 1-yard line. So, Tank.
Last thing, I mean, we talked about the Saints' strength of schedule. Falcons, I think, come in at number 2 strength of schedule, easiest this year. I don't think it's crazy to think that the Falcons put up points this year. Just saying, I really do. Who's next? Who's putting on the flippers next?
I'll take this one. So this guy was 100. He's 133rd ADP. The only issue is rookie last year. He missed the first 5 games. Gives you early health concerns. He's a big athletic guy, 6'4". Greg Dulcich. I think that Russell Wilson bounces back this year, and I think he becomes one of his favorite targets. I mean, tight end, I think he's going tight end 11, 12. I think it's worth it. I mean, when Russell Wilson scrambles, who frees up his tight end? I think he's going to be he's definitely going to be a top 10 tight end in my eyes this year. So I'm taking him at that 133rd ADP all day. Especially, I'm in a couple 12-mans and a 14-man. I'm really targeting him late in my 14-man.
So for me, for Dulcich, around that area, I'm actually surprised you guys didn't go because you guys are so high on Justin Fields and him passing this 4,000 mark. Why you guys aren't going Cole Kmet then?
Commit.
So
Legs, baby.
yeah, you're taking him for the legs, but he's promising to be the first Bears QB to get there. If you're looking elsewhere besides Dulcich, if you're big on Justin Fields, everybody knows I'm not. Cole Kmet's there. I have no problem with Greg Dulcich. I mean, we were hyping him up. I like him better. Trust me. Everybody's talking about this Dalton Kincaid. I think you can get this late round value with Dulcich coming in. I have high praise for this guy in his second year. I might sleep on these tight ends just to grab Dulcich later on these drafts.
I mean, the guy is sneaky quick for his size too, and for a tight end. I mean, I seen Wilson scramble when he came back, hit him on a little dump off. The guy ran 40 yards like no one touched him.
I want to know what Dalton Kincaid did to you in a past life. We have episodes where they're not even tight end based. Like he might have caught a stray from you in our handcuff episode.
I don't know what it is. It might be the Buffalo fans. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's. I have an uncle, okay, big Buffalo fan. Everybody they draft is a superstar in his book, and I gotta level him down a little bit, you know. So,
is it Uncle Bill or is it Dawson Knox you love?
Ugh. And that's another thing too, man. Dawson Knox is still there, I believe. Yeah, in Buffalo. So yeah, you got 2 tight ends there. You're not looking at like a Gronk Hernandez kind of thing over there with those 2. So those guys are going to take away from each other.
So we figured out who that subscriber was that unfollowed us over the last week. It was your uncle. He couldn't handle the Dalton
Oh,
Kincaid
dang. Dude, you talked with the follower?
Oh, that's so.
Damn.
That'd be so funny if it was.
Dude.
uh,
Have
uh,
to make a call after this.
right.
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta take this. But my next guy, man, I'm gonna stay on. I hate to do it. I'm gonna stay on the Saints train here. We talked about him during this episode. It's Derek Carr. ADP 144. He averages close to 4K yards every year. His touchdowns, I believe, will go up. This is probably I believe, one of his most stacked offenses he's had in a while. Everything from the wideouts to tight end position to the running backs. They're stacked at the running back position in New Orleans right now. Um, Alvin Kamara, yeah, got those 3 game suspension, but when he comes back, man, PPR, those dump downs, I believe Derek Carr is going to shoot up in touchdowns. I know he had a couple he needs to take care of the ball kind of years, but I just see a lot of value in Derek Carr coming in, and then this division, man, is the time to do it for him as well. 'Cause this division is nothing special.
Yeah, to touch on the turnovers, man, I can't think of a single game I've watched in the last couple of years where the Raiders have been like up. Like it's always come from behind. He always plays with the worst defense, and I think I mean he's coming into this year, and I'm hearing all across the board that the Saints might be the first defense taken off fantasy boards, and they're projecting this defense to be ridiculous this year. He might be in a situation where he can play safe and just simply move the ball down the field and do the slot stuff with Michael Thomas and utilize the dump offs and not have to be the guy and throw these throws that he's really not capable of. But I mean that translates. I mean no turnovers means no negative points on your stat sheet for fantasy. So I think that having a good defense is only beneficial for him for fantasy purposes.
You know why that defense is going so high? Their strength of schedule at the beginning of that season, man, is ridiculous. I think the first 5, 6 games is smooth sailing for that defense. So I think that's why their ADP of that defense is jumping up pretty high.
It's crazy.
And it's funny you mentioned the Raiders never being up in a game. The only time they're ever up in a game is against the Chiefs, and Mahomes always comes back and shatters their hopes. So bet the first half Raiders Chiefs. Just saying, we'll talk about that later. Anyways, Mahomes or not Mahomes, Carr. Sorry, got caught off with a side segment to come. Um, Carr, he does have a lot of weapons. I mean, he's a vet guy. I mean, he could be a manager, especially if Thomas comes back to where he was. I mean, the guy runs slants like Teak said. Olave, he's a up and rising star in this league. I mean, Kamara comes back. You got a lot of weapons there, so you just got to not, excuse my language, mess up. So yeah, Carr could be a good gamble there.
So Benny, who do you have for your last guy here?
Alrighty. So last one. Um, we went deep, deep, deep sea commercial diving to find. All right. And to be honest with you, I think we could have found gold. I'm not saying it's the Titanic or anything, but we might have found something a little interesting down there. Um, we're gonna stick on the tight end stuff. Gerald Everett. Um, and the more I kept looking, the more I got like more and more impressed. It was his first year as a Charger last year. Okay, so that offense I think has only gotten better, and he's only going to have more opportunity. He's 6'3", 250, runs a 4.6. He's a freak. Okay, he's a freak athlete. We like those. Um, he sneaky ranked really good last year. When I say that, I mean he really did. He had 8 top 13 finishes last year in fantasy, and he managed to do that with only 4 touchdowns. At the tight end position, usually that's where all your points come is your touchdown premium. red zone stuff. But let's just get into some of the stuff that he really ranked at, and that's targets. He finished 8th among tight ends. Target share, 13th among tight ends. Slot snaps, 8th. Routes run, 9th. Red zone targets, 5th. Receptions, 8th. Yak, 8th. Contested catch rate, 6th. And drops, he finished 4th. 4th lowest. And on top of all of that, if that stuff's not enough to persuade you this late in the round he's worth it, they got Kellen Moore. Um, Kellen Moore's 4 years that he's been an offensive coordinator, he's number 2 in total yards of offense and scoring, both categories. And then look at Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz's last 3 years have been with Kellen Moore. He, in 2020, 63 catches, 615 yards, 4 touchdowns. Year after that, 78, 808, 8 touchdowns. Last year, 57, 577, 5 touchdowns. Some of that was with Cooper Rush. Give and take. I I I love Gerald Everett. I love Justin Herbert. I think that this is going to be a pass happy offense that's going to be awesome. And yeah, I mean, if you think for all the reasons that we're talking up Quentin Johnson, should be the reason we're talking up him. I mean, he lines up in the slot all the time. If Mike Williams is going to go down like we predict, well, it's going to be more targets for him. If Quentin Johnson is just a rookie receiver with drop problems, more opportunities for Gerald Everett. Um, I'm not going to slander Keenan Allen. We're very pro Keenan Allen podcast here. But yeah, I love Gerald Everett, and at that late, I think you probably already have taken a good or considered good tight end, and I think you can be very happy with taking Gerald Everett that late.
So there's things I like and there's things I don't like about Gerald Everett. I completely agree for a tight end. He's a freak athlete. His ability, no doubt, is there. The thing I do not like is he's never had over 60 receptions in a season. Now, something I do like about, because we are deep diving, this is going to be his second year with the Chargers in that high-powered offense. So I think you might have something there, but I like to have my tight end in 70 receptions. He's never broke 60. That's what I don't like. But is the risk there and the reward there? Yes, I agree. But those are my likes and dislikes.
In a perfect world, yeah, go get those targets to Gerald Everett, but you got to flip it on its other end there, other side of the coin. There's a lot of mouths to feed in LA. And if everybody stays healthy, you got Eckler, you got him, you got the 3 receivers. I don't think he's going to hit that 60 reception range then. Really don't. Um, but you got to hope for an injury then, if that's the case. If yeah, we're deep diving, but you got to look at every aspect of it. Yes, his schedule does favor him a little bit at the tight end position. Um, guys around his area, got Jawan Johnson, Dalton Kincaid. You know how I feel about Dalton. Uh, the only one I would take a flyer on, Sam Laporta, man.
Yeah.
In Detroit. I mean, they got a lot of weapons too, so you can make that same argument for Sam Laporta. But him coming in as a rookie, he does have a ceiling. You don't know what you're going to get out of him. So it's either take a flyer or Gerald Everett is a proven tight end, but it all depends on how many mouths get fed over there for the Chargers.
His receptions do keep going up each year, so he just needs. I think what you guys both said, talking about deep dives, if we're on the surface, take Justin Herbert.
And who is your last one badge for your players here?
Oh, you're making me go. Okay. So I bounced back and forth, back and forth. I talked to Teak today. We worked together all day. back and forth between these guys. I'm going to mention them both. I'll give them a little love. So I ended up picking Jordan Love. It was between him and Nico Collins. So here's why I'm going to take Jordan Love over Nico. I'm going with the Packers trend. They always have their guy. The future is here. I mean, there's not a lot of data on Jordan Love, okay? But we're talking about deep dives here, right, guys? Deep
Yep.
dives. We're diving. So I'm diving. I'm getting Love. Taking him late in my 14-man league. They always have their franchise guy. I mean, the guy can run. The guy's arm looks solid. Training camp, he's looking good. I mean, he has a lot of young talent around him. I think he's worth a late pick in a 14-man league. Like I said, the Packers seem to know what they're doing with the quarterback position. I think we can all agree with that. So, again, there's not a lot of data, not a lot of proof, not a lot of numbers. I'm taking a deep dive and I'm grabbing Jordan Love.
Question for you, Batch, real quick. Little
God.
involves Jordan Love a little bit. Jordan Love sitting behind Kenny Pickett at 22 overall QB. Taking Pickett or Love?
Well, we're deep diving, so if we're not deep diving, I'm taking my man Pickett.
Well, I just told you he's sitting at one spot above him.
Yeah, but
He's in the
deep
same
dive.
tier system.
I know he is. We're going by ADP, but I'm taking Pickett.
Well, Jordan Love
But
does have a favorable schedule. As for me, I don't know, man. Jordan Love, it's tough. It really is, QB wise. Guys down in that range, I'd rather take a flyer on Brock Purdy sitting there at 23 below him. I'd rather take my shot on him or CJ Stroud as a flyer because obviously digging this deep down, you already have your quarterback set. So you're just looking for a backup. If you're in dynasty leagues, obviously you want to take a young guy because if they explode their rookie year, got them for the career. As far as redraft leagues, again, if your guy goes down, your top guy, or say you put your chips in on Deshaun Watson, he doesn't turn out to be the Deshaun Watson of what we know. I don't know, man. I'm taking a flyer on one of these rookies like CJ Stroud. Jordan Love, I feel like if he was the guy, they would have got rid of Rodgers a year or two earlier. My book. I just feel like that's what they did with the whole Favre thing. That's that's what they would have done again. I just don't see it coming out of Jordan Love. I really don't. Um, as far as a passer, yeah, everybody blows up these training camp videos. So until I see a regular season game, I don't know, man. It's
yeah,
tough. It's tough to give love.
yeah, we are deep diving. I do like that, but you mentioned getting rid of Rodgers a year or two later. 2 years ago, Rodgers won league MVP. So why would you get rid of a guy like that?
Capital,
So yeah,
capital. You
I
want the
agree.
we just talked about in the early episode, or if we talked about it, or we talked about it at work, one or the other, about Trey Lance and what they gave up for Trey Lance. They could have got capital, and boy, they could have used it, right?
Yeah.
Because this, I don't know, this offense just doesn't look right to me for some reason. Yeah, get the running backs there, and everybody's loving Christian Watson. I don't know. I just don't love this offense at all.
Yeah, if they were sold, I will agree with you at one point. If they were sold on Love, they should have sold Rodgers right after that MVP season.
And
I
I
think you said
and, and
they
I
sold low.
and I think they kind of basically were going to do that route by trading up for Love instead of grabbing Rodgers a receiver that year. So we watched the draft together with a Packers fan, and he was confused as well. So it was kind of hit or miss. I thought they were moving on after that draft, but apparently they didn't.
Yeah, and deep diving. And I back to the Pickett thing. I mean, I don't want to be hurt. Like I'm a huge Steelers fan. I don't want to draft Pickett and be broken twice. I lose my week, and then the Steelers lose. So that's why I chose Love over Kenny. Love you, Kenny.
What's your
Maybe
thoughts, Beanie, on some love over here?
give us some love.
I'm just so glad we didn't have to talk about Nico Collins. But no, Dude, I don't love it. Like, we've been deep, like, super expensive, like, deadliest catch boats out there deep diving,
He's
and
reeling
then
in that
And
tuna.
then
I'm
Badge
going
just
deep.
like
I'm
took
going
us
deep.
like Badge just took us to like a pond out back, and it's just like here, here it is. It's I hate Jordan Love. If you have Jordan Love on your roster, you better have Christian Watson. You're just like hoping for like a boom year and that you can just capitalize on upside that might not be there. That's all I got to say. I don't want to turn this into a slander fest for Jordan Love. Like you said, man, the Packers have a history of producing historic quarterbacks. Whether or not Jordan Love is going to be that or a stepping stool to that, to be determined. For Badge's sake, I hope that he's great upside. Invite me to whatever league Badge is in after this.
My
We're
last
deep
guy.
diving, boys. Deep diving.
My last guy. I got Elijah Moore. ADP 113. Um, there has to be a number 2 in Cleveland. I feel like he's going to be the guy. I think he's going to flourish in Cleveland. He hasn't had a QB Jets. He has Flacco and Zach Wilson throwing him the rock. We all saw where that got him. Absolutely nowhere. Just the way they're already using Elijah Moore in camp in these preseason games as like a gadget player, these end around stuff like that. I feel like he's going to see a lot of looks in this offense, especially with Amari Cooper taking looks away from him on the defensive side of the ball. I think Elijah Moore has tremendous upside coming in this season. I really did. But it all depends on Watson taking that next step forward. If Watson doesn't take that next step forward, I don't think Moore will either.
Yeah, I mean, so I hate the Browns. I think you guys both know that. That was one of the worst days I've ever in a while when Elijah Moore went to the Browns. He got the short end of the stick with Zach Wilson, I think. So I think he's gonna be. It's gonna be on Watson. I think. I mean, the guy has talent. We all seen that in Houston. I mean, if he comes back to that and gets rid of that whole negative media and all that noise, I mean, I think Elijah Moore could be a solid pick. I mean, and Amari Cooper is just gonna help him. So I think he's a good deep dive.
Yeah, I think there's two guys I knew that I didn't have to put on my list when we were putting this stuff together because I knew they were going to be on your guys's, and that was Dolchich for Badge, and I knew you were going to take Elijah Moore. It's just guys that we've talked about in the past or privately, and they just make sense. Elijah Moore's upside is crazy. Like the Watson stuff, I mean, they go where he goes. The news about Chubb getting more pass game targets and stuff like that, I still don't think that that's a threat for any of these wide receivers. I don't think that uptick is going to be that measurable. Tillman's getting a lot of play in the news, rightfully so. I mean, he's a real good rookie, but that's just what he is. I think he's going to challenge Peoples Jones for those targets, and I think Moore and Amari Cooper are going to be the guys. I think they're both going to have great years. We saw Smith and AJ Brown produce 1,000-yard receivers for Philly. I don't think that these guys should be out of that category. It's possible if Watson's producing at an MVP level, which he has before. It's possible. It really is.
I
Excited to see what happens.
Just to cut you off real quick, I don't think he has to perform at that MVP level for Elijah Moore to outplay this ADP whatsoever. I feel
No,
like,
I agree.
yeah, he just has to be half of what he was, and this Elijah Moore is a gold rush pick. So, yeah, would you like to see Deshaun Watson get to that level? Yeah, I would like to see what that offense can do. They're stacked to the gills over there too in Cleveland. So, be nice to see Cleveland actually, take a division over there in the North.
They always have the talent. I mean, it's theirs to lose, it seems, but we won't get into that. We're deep diving. But it seems like a lot of these teams, these number 2 receivers, always give us good numbers. I don't see a reason why Elijah Moore can't be that T. Higgins, can't be that Gabe Davis from 2 years ago, can't be that Waddle. I mean, a lot of these number 2 spots. I mean, Cooper's just going to help them.
Yeah, man. It's the North is tough, man. Defenses over there is tough. Offenses are coming along now. Seems like it's gonna be a real tough division and fun to watch division.
It's going to be a lot of points scored in the AFC North this year. It really is.
But guys, that wraps up our episode. Hope you liked the deep dive episode. Please hit that subscribe button on the bottom there. Hit the bell for notifications. We hope we can see you guys on the next one.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Let 'Em Know Fantasy Football Podcast. Join our community and follow us on all socials, or keep up with the episodes on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts.